She's speaking from a parent's perspective tonight on parenting in the homeschooling in the digital era from a parent's perspective. Yes. So she's a digital transformation specialist, and she has been homeschooling her daughter because of COVID and the challenges with COVID, because of homeschooling, the lockdown in her city. She lives in Amsterdam. So she's going to share with us tips and tricks and how that has worked for her so far. And it seems like homeschooling is the new normal. Everything seems to be the new normal these days. But yes, homeschooling is one of the new normals. So she will take us on maybe a short 20 minutes presentation. She'll share a screen, share the presentation for us, she'll share a screen, and then we can all jump into the conversation, ask questions, and ask questions and all. So that's it for today. That's what we're going to be talking about today on today's Parents Connect.
I take off my earpiece.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for inviting me. To thank everyone for joining us on tonight's podcast. I want to thank the CEO and founder of Early Flight Academy. Welcome everyone. And as we discussed tonight, we're going to look at parenting in the digital era, especially in homeschooling, where most are children, and all of the things that we've learned. So while we work on this, I want to say the world as we know it today is different from what we know. And my experience as a mom and homeschooling my child is really an exciting time, and interesting to share the vision and everyone to see how parenting in the homeschooling era has been. So the world actually is digressing into a digital transformation era. And whether we like it or not, digital transformation forward to the fourth industrial revolution. And how are we prepared as parents and as caregivers matters a lot, especially programming our children to the coming days that they're going to be, because with the pandemic and the incessant closure of school and people homeschool, things that we need to learn as parents that can enable us to make this homeschooling an interesting one. So with that, we have decided to put up this podcast and webinar for everyone to learn. As we progress, we learn every day. So it will enable us to be prepared and make sure our children are also prepared to work effectively and efficiently. So I'd like to share my experience as a mother and as a caregiver, what are this process. So I have some PowerPoints to start my discussion with. So Kalachi, I still cannot share my PowerPoint because it's saying Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for confirmation. Okay, this is a podcast on digital transformation in homeschooling era. So as we all know, homeschooling is something that has come to play, and everyone is going to be affected one way or the other, whether we like it or not. As we get into the period of people facing pandemic and not really knowing what to do. In the old time, homeschooling has been there, but now with technology, homeschooling is different. So there are various aspects of homeschooling we're going to look at, and how you make it interesting for your child, and as a parent, how you enjoy the kids, advance, make them get more knowledge, ready for the fourth industrial revolution, train them to be innovative and creative. So homeschooling, as we know, the digital homeschooling, there are various points we're going to look at. We're going to look at the digital curriculum planning. How do you plan it? Of course, the school had already given you a plan to work with. But then as a parent, you want to make it interesting for your children, most especially those with little children from 2 to 7 years, the more little ones. You want to make it interesting for them. How do you do this? We're going to share. How do you create your folders and files, keeping abreast of changing technology, homeschooling tools, looking for free learning materials. And then we're going to take the Q&A section. So I said, as a parent or caregiver, we must always be abreast of changing technology. And you can check that on websites. Can be challenges. Most times when you want to look at what your child is doing, there could be challenges. So how do we implement parental notification on their tabs as they use all their different homeschooling apps? Because sometimes you're teaching your child to focus on the school. They are going to different aspects of their caregiver. The tips are, as a parent and caregiver, prior to your kid coming to learning platform, ensure you're already familiar with the type of software or application that your child will be using. And you can do this by researching or learning how this app. By doing your own research, you make your child become confident. Like for instance, as a parent or a caregiver, when you're conversant or you know how a tool or an application works, you demonstrate and your child or train your child immediately, automatically your child creates a kind of confidence. I don't know how many parents have observed that. Automatically your child builds a confidence. And this mostly happens for the parent or caregiver with very little children. Then the apps is just application. We have the digital tools, the digital software, browsers, online training materials, digital homeschool planning. So for me, what I do, I'm going to share my tips, what I do, and also what has worked. And that's how we build a well-rounded child. First and foremost, abreast yourself with how these materials work prior to them being introduced to your kids. As parents or caregiver, we must ensure we are informed on current digital trends. Always get on technology platforms. So when we do that, we'll always be informed about the current technology, because every day technology changes, every day application changes, every day the tools these kids are we're using Zoom for this particular platform, and there are Microsoft Teams, there are whereby meetings, there are WebEx, there are Skype. But then you depends on what are the parents, your school have tailored for your child to use. So when we do this by doing our own research, we will help our child. Digital transformation has come to play. And in the future we're approaching, digital transformation is something that is leading even as we approach a circular economy in the near future. So for instance, there could be households with multiple printed copies of digital curriculum, or better still, for what works, for what I think will work for parents with multiple children. You can create folders and files on your computer and save it on the desktop, label them with each child's name in a chronological topics. Why are we doing this? We're sharing on how we can make our homeschooling interesting. Because also, while the pandemic is still on, there could be time that teachers might be called sick and you have to homeschool your child. So you have to create folders, and then because the content can come digitally, creating folder is very easy. Then homeschooling, utilizing the available online resources for the curriculum per se. Your child is logging onto websites sent by your teachers. What do? As per you know what the software are, what kind of software you're using. When a child has a meeting, let's say around 9 o'clock, you don't want to start come by 9 o'clock and start looking where the recording is or where the video is. Of course, these things can happen, but as parents, if it's little challenges, Also, we can do this by researching and learning on how this application works, most especially for those with very little children. This will come handy. Then for you to get the best of homeschool, you're a working parent or a full-time parent or you are a business parent, homeschooling is very beneficial. However, we need to get the most out of it and make it interesting for the children. Like I said prior to when I started the conversation, you can create your own unique style that works for you, for your child. You can do this by observing the child. Like I have a child is more interested in, so you look at what windows, observing their most productive windows. It could be around in the morning hours, it could be late in the morning hours, depending on the windows. Because you're homeschooling, you want to make it interesting. Because for the very little children, I would advise is like cycling, depends on the environment. You can allow cycling, or like taking a break completely different from looking at the screen, a swing or something. And so as soon as they do that, they quickly they come back again, being interested in what you're teaching them. You shouldn't go more than 20 minutes with them. Even for the more grown-up ones, I think maximum you could go with them when you're homeschooling, because now they are not in an environment where they are all together learning. So the tendency of them to concentrate is reduced. Check, because like I said earlier, we all have a unique way we look at our children. So you have to create that unique style for your child to work with. And then for the little children, don't go beyond 20 minutes, because for me, that's from homeschooling, we've come to we see all this. And then I said for the tips for still on planning, there are many homeschooling planners you can use. Of course, our Google Calendar, Google is a lot. Every one of us is on Gmail. On Gmail, there are a lot of tools that you can use to plan your calendar. Maybe if your child's, but then as a parent, you can use the Google Drive or the Google document to create extra work for your child. By doing this, it will help you to plan on how you support your kids individually. Even when you have multiple children, what do? You make color bars, create hard copy folders. But I about a digital era. Creating soft copy folders are more important in this age and time, because by doing that, automatically you click on the link or click on the folder that you want that particular child to use. And focusing on parents with more children, this curriculum, whatever you're doing as a parent, of course you want to do extra, but always follow the school curriculum to integrate that with what you want to do. Then use time slots for every schoolwork. Schools automatically start 8:30, even if they are homeschooling. You have also planned by using templates to subjects, keep tracks of their grade, progress, performances, course description, and even for transcript creation. You can create your own transcript. Of course, while homeschooling, the teachers assume, apart from already following what they are being taught. So whenever they come, they feel, they learn if it's those with multiplication or addition. The school automatically assume that as a parent, you have helped your child to get through the process in an organized way. It will help you. Then still on planning, when printing materials or information, ensure the information are clear and concise. When you give your child, because you're homeschooling now, you don't want to put that extra effort. You have your life to do other things. If there are shapes you want them to look at and then represent those shapes you're giving them to work on. You want them to be clear and concise. And by doing that, the kids can work by themselves. While you as a parent or caregiver find work from home, you're not going to work with your child 24 hours of the day. You have to create time slots. So while they are doing their course, you as a parent can also have time to attend to other things. So still on planning, we have the planning. The homeschooling is also a great way to keep track of all the assignment in order to parents. You might lose track of where your child is. Like what can also help is at the end of the week, you can say, okay, we're going to go back to check all of the work we've done. And by doing that, it will help you to see where you have missed, what gaps you have missed. So I said planning homeschooling is in order to ensure they are completed. By planning, you can set time for each kid spent on assignment. You can download planners app. There are a lot of planners app, like I mentioned. in our discussion on Google. There are a lot of pieces of those planners app. They'll make your life much easier. So you can also create one with Google Calendar just on your phone. You can do that. You can also set password on the planner so no one accidentally can change vital information, because now your plan, especially for parents with multiple children, this is very important. The homeschooling, it works well for you. Even if you're on vacation, you still want them to get homeschooling, or you still want them to get on with their schoolwork. Planning will really help you. So using planner can also help parents and caregivers do the calculation of grades and percentage and quickly check if there are any trouble spots. Like I mentioned, planning help you to check trouble spots or gap in learning. Apparently, you have mixed with two. You make the one of something, all of the courses coming in, like children that use Microsoft Teams. All the parents, maybe using SharePoint or something, you missed out on something. You can quickly, because you're using a planner and cross-checking what you have done, this will allow you to quickly adjust to any plan that you have missed. And then in order, you can choose those gaps looking for needs for your child. Then digital record keeping during homeschooling. There are a lot of information that are coming. How do you digitally keep them? Because now we are looking at digital transformation in homeschooling, the era of homeschooling. That is where we are at. And this as digital record keeping during homeschooling usage and advantage. When you use, there are several tools you could use. This tool will help you as a parent or caregiver keep you up with every record, from grade books to attendance to lessons to lesson plans and for printing out copies. So if, for instance, you're an hesitant parent that you don't really want to use the record keeping application, then you can go for the cloud storage. Like I said, cloud storage is, I have 5 minutes. Okay, great, thank you. When you're on vacation, you're not going with you want to travel light, you're not going with all of your equipment. You want to go with just one particular system. And then you can get all of the, even if you have multiple children, you can get all of their works on cloud. So I will advise, from my experience, set or caregiver that have not started using cloud a way of saving files. You can explore that as well. So that will also help you. Then we're going to look at we talk about the Google Sheet, the Google Meeting Place, Google Calendar, scheduling. A lot of people use Google, but when you look at Google, there is a lot of that you can use that will facilitate making your child learn become a pleasant one. You can create quiz and worksheet for your children while waiting on the school to send their curriculum. However, I mentioned, always try to follow the school curriculum to that makes the whole thing overwhelming, but you create your own time slots. This PowerPoint will be shared as we progress on our series. Then free learning plan for parents. There are a few things as a parent. I mentioned to the host, you might want to start looking in another direction of career. So if you are a parent that you want to go further into knowing how this homeschooling works, you can go to different learning platforms like Khan Academy, Duolingo on YouTube, or FreeRise, Project Gutenberg. Those are all our online parenting materials from. Then for parents that are looking at different tools on how they want to get more knowledge on their tool, you can also learn on Microsoft Teams, Google Space, Zoom, Whereby Meeting Space. Whereby Meeting Space is relatively new. So this is, but while doing all of this, keep it professional, however, and make it an excellent ride. So in closing, we are all aware, I have only skimmed through the surface of amazing digital opportunities available for how you look at homeschooling. Move forward in this podcast, I'll look forward to sharing more tips on how you can make your homeschooling time rewarding, exciting, without being overwhelmed. However, you will also find more that are specifically tailored for your child, not forgetting children with special needs. Remember, we are talking about children out there. We also have children with special needs that needs attention. As a parent or caregiver, how do you make this homeschooling time interesting for those ones with special needs? So it is true that we can never fully rely on digital to records and concepts. How are a great benefit to us and our own school. Even education hubs can utilize allowing our children to learn on the go. There are several things that you can do to make this an interesting one. Even on the ride, you're on a trip with the children in the car, they can learn. So there are a lot of, on the other hand, they can also be employed as treats. Children, they like it, that come after the hard work of the day. Maybe you want to buy application for them, like a game application. Those are treats that can come for them that you as a parent, you have to look at how to is there are a lot of applications that are coming up as they learn. Maybe they're using tablet. There are a lot of cookies that come up. But what will help you that your child doesn't go to the wrong application or wrong cookie? You can set parental notification on your app as from. It will quickly notify you, and that saves your children from seeing the wrong thing that you don't want them to see. Because like I said in our earlier, that digital transformation and homeschooling is something that has come to stay. Thank you, Example.
Thank you very much, Abigail. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you everybody for listening. So Abigail, for those of us who came in during the presentation, she just took us through her own personal experience and journey with homeschooling her daughter. Sorry, Abigail, how old is your daughter again?
She's 5 years old.
5, okay. Homeschooling a 5-year-old in the midst of the pandemic because of the lockdown and everything. Homeschooling the digital era. She's a digital transformation specialist, so she works at home, I'm sure, because of the lockdown as well. She lives in the Netherlands, and she just shared her own experience. And like I said, this is from a parent's perspective. Maybe further down the line, we might get a homeschooling professional, maybe from the teacher's perspective, from school admin's perspective. And let's see how we can move forward with homeschooling. But something, like I said on my status, some of you don't see my WhatsApp status. I said, fun fact, Abigail, I don't know if you know this, I was homeschooled as well. But
Wow.
obviously, it was not in the digital era. But I just did 1 year of homeschooling in primary school, so primary 4. I don't know what they call that now. And the person who actually homeschooled me is on this call. And that happens to be my mom. I don't know if she can hear me, but she might want to share her own experience. So she's coming
Yes,
from
that would
the
nice.
old school, and then this is the digital era. Then we did not have apps, we didn't have laptops, so we just got textbooks put together. But thankfully, thankfully, because of technology, things have been made pretty much easier, and yeah. So, please, if you have any questions, if you have any contributions, if you have any opinions, that's why we're here to have a conversation. It's not just a one-way presentation. It's a conversation, actually. So I'll be waiting for comments. I'll be waiting for questions. The speaker is still here, so she's not running anywhere. It's a conversation with everybody. We're all here to learn as well. So, but going on now, I think I have a question for you, Abigail. Your daughter is 5, so obviously, because of and especially the country you live in, you have to use. You talk about using devices for the homeschooling and all of that, right? But my question is,
Yes.
because I'm sure she has games on these devices as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. So how do you you can't really be hovering over her doing her work. How do you ensure that your child doesn't, digress while working on the device to start playing games or doing other fun things instead of focusing on schoolwork?
Okay, thank you so much for your questions, and thank you everyone for listening. Like I mentioned during my discussion, I said that there are parental locks that you can put. So I don't know how school hours, like I said, we have time slots. We ensure we work during those time windows, the time that she's productive, the time that she's less. So by ensuring that we stick to those windows that she is more productive. So those windows help us to achieve only this is schoolwork time. And then those other applications that are there are parental loops I have put. If you're a technology enthusiast, there are ways that you can get these things done. So she can't really go there. So it's only school. Like, of course, you use the tablet, and then we get to Microsoft Teams where we have the other Zulu connect with schoolwork and files. So that period is just school. If there are videos you have to look at that teachers have sent, if there are lessons they have sent at the moment. So we work. It's focused on doing schoolwork, and that's by implementing that for the last 1 year, we have achieved a kind of concentration window for the child, so they don't go to the next. They don't have to go to maybe playing games. You have to look at 20 minutes for every child. Now I'm talking about people with very little children between 2 to 7 years. So at that window of attention, where they have their most attention, school has become interesting. So they don't go to anywhere. And then after 20 minutes, we can go for, I deactivate the game again for that period. So the child doesn't go in and out. Even without even the school period, you don't want your child to be on the tablet all the time, because then they can't be productive, because with the way digital transmission is coming and things are coming also being on their tablet. You want to stop that by activating that parental lock. Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, we still have opportunities for questions. You can still ask your questions, drop your comments. I'm waiting for your comments in the chat box. Please, the conversation. And your 2 participants raised their hands. Okay, so who's raising their hand? Okay, so I think you should be able to unmute yourself if you want to speak. So just unmute yourself and ask your question, or let me see. Participants. Okay.
That's Chime, right?
Hello. Yes. Hello.
Thank you so much.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead. Hello. I guess network is.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Ogumka. Thank you, Abigail, for the wonderful lecture. I really, it's something new for me. So my question is this something that should run side curriculum? And is it also possible that a child would completely be homeschooled without being enrolled in a school, like in a regular school? Is this something that is possible for a child to, of course, a regular school curriculum and follow that curriculum to homeschool your child? So is this something that is completely possible without enrolling your child in a school?
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if the question
is
clear.
Yeah, very clear and direct. Yeah. I'll make a tangent, then I'll come back to your questions. I'll just make a little tangent. Homeschooling is something in the past that has, and then secondly, there are people, if you have the resources, there are celebrities that are homeschooled all through their life. So answering your question now, homeschooling depends on how much resources you have. School, like in America, even in this where I stay, there are a lot of prominent people that have a lot of money that have decided, maybe because of some special reasons of social media or some kind of privacy, their kids are stones. I would say for the child, except otherwise that you have the resources, you want to do it. But then for the child's mental health and for them to interact, because humans, we have to interact, I would say completely no. Homeschooling a child, I would say no. But then if something happened like just we have experienced in the last 1 year of a pandemic situation, then we should be prepared. So it's a kind of two-way answer. One, it is possible if you have a lot of money to bring, and they bring the curriculum from the school to the house for your child. And at the end of the day, the child go in to write just the exams, but they have dedicated teachers and dedicated curriculum and everything for your child. And then secondly, for those people also learn from interacting with one another, I would say no. So I don't know if I answered your question. So it's a two-way answer.
Okay, thank you very much. That's clear enough.
Thank you so much, Ogumka. So like Akalachi I've said, is an interactive section. We're recording, we post the slides. It's not just today, and we explore more also as parents on the platform. If you have something to share, the website will be shared where you can also make your give your feedback and contribution. So,
okay,
I will leave
Abigail,
the platform for the host to.
I have one. It's more like an opinion, but also a question to you. So you've had
Yes,
the
please.
opportunity now to homeschool your daughter for almost a year due to situations and circumstances.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
So maybe the thing is you are still using the school's curriculum as a guide.
Indeed.
Because the school
Indeed.
is still in touch with you and they still do the assessment. But has this homeschooling given you the opportunity to say personalize your child's curriculum? What I mean is this. So the subjects or maybe the things that they offer in school, have you decided to take away some of them or add some of your own interests? For example, when I was being homeschooled, obviously I obviously could not take all the subjects, but my mom had to add some interesting ones that were not going to be handled in school. So things like maybe entrepreneurship, financial management, specialized things, maybe knitting, hands-on activities. Did you customize your child's curriculum in that way?
Yes, thank you for your question, and I'm going to answer your question in two ways. But your question is very clear. As a result of homeschooling, I have also learned to implement or let my child, because of course the school curriculum comes in, but this is not something that the school has taught us time management. Like I mentioned, like in the course of homeschooling, we don't just say, oh, we are home, let's just wake up and be conscious and be organized in our things. So when we wake up, I will come back to your question, but let me go this way now. When we wake up, like I wake up by 5 every day, and my child has also implemented waking up by 6. So we don't just wake up like, oh, because we're homeschooling, we can just run around, we're going to school. So that is number one. We have learned organization skills. And then number two, we have learned time consciousness. Like we know school starts by 8:45, and we have had breakfast. We are all ready for the day, getting our schoolwork done to what we do. And then thirdly, as homeschooling for the last 1 year, for me as a parent, it has also helped me to research more. And I became more interested. Of course, teaching is not a career I look forward to, which has made me to research more. So most times when the school curriculum comes in, I scan through and then I go to other platforms like Pinterest. I don't know how many people know Pinterest. I pick a lot of things. In fact, when my child going far, that we should slow down a bit. So I picked 1 or 2 curriculum from what they are teaching. I went to Pinterest, other platform, get some material that is still in line with what the school is teaching to go ahead. But remember, like I said during the discussion, always follow the school curriculum, because at the end of the day, when they start writing exams or going for appraisal and progress report, they will score them based on what they have learned. So it's always good to narrow it down to the school curriculum. From homeschooling, I've learned so much about education, so much, like looking at the windows a child learns is something I observed from homeschooling. But if, as a parent, I'd also observed that my child is seeing these things. Of course, if you're a busy parent, like you work or you do business, when you come back, everybody's exhausted. Maybe weekend, you don't really have time to look at what they are doing. But because of homeschooling, I think it's also an advantage for every parent if they have judiciously used the homeschooling period. It also helped me. I've learned that and I've known how to narrow that and encourage that skill and development in the child. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Thank you. Yes, you did. Someone is also raising up a hand. Christy Chiedu. Christy, go ahead and ask the question.
Go ahead, Christy.
You have to unmute yourself first. Unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Good evening, Christy.
Yeah. Thank you, Sister Abigail, for this opportunity to be on this platform. Okay, my question is, for this homeschooling, it seems like it's classes like primary, nursery. What about the secondary school? I know that sometime during the pandemic, my son was doing, homeschooling, they were like computer to learn and all that, and he doesn't seem to enjoy it. I don't know. In terms of the practical aspect, maybe because there was one we had to go outside to do out, even though he has a laptop and was following up. And so, what are my chemistry and all that, and they have to go to lab to do 1 or 2 chemistry. How can they fit in, and or how can they go about that if they had to do
Well,
homeschooling,
this
for
is
instance?
yeah, indeed, this is an interesting question, and it's really vital. Even though we're talking about the very little one, we just make a scenario to making it interesting for the very little, but bringing it to the more when a child has science and practical to get on with. Of course, they are not in the lab environment.
Exactly.
Now we're narrowing it to Nigeria, but if you live in where I live, these are things that can always. I'm just, of course, we're not there. There could be. You could ask the school because you're not coming to the school, and that's why we're having these things, and we feel we can give feedback to school what they can do. Add it on or 2 things. Maybe there is a biology practical or chemistry or physics. You could ask the school to learn those things for a day or for a week to get it done. Because even if you go outside, you're not getting those things. So you could ask the school, like I would laptop during the lockdown. The school have to ask parents to come and take Google Chrome for them to work with. And then if there's other things that they need, the school, because being home teachers, I don't know of Nigeria's situation, but the teachers were always in school. So when you need something, you can always come to the school to get them. Then bringing it back to your son now when you have to do practical and the things to do get the practicals on and not there. You could write to the school that, oh, can we borrow Bika? Can we borrow this for a few days? Because you want them to get engaged. Because of something in the school to be stopped. So you could say, oh, this week we borrow from Bika, we need to do some practicals and we'll get it back in 1 week time. So
actually, the school was on. The teachers, they were in school because sometimes we couldn't do something. They would connect us. They were there, but we were at home doing that. So I just thought of I was back then in school. I was in chemistry. Then go to lab, you mix, different things. So that was why
it's a vital question that also we need to give feedback to the teachers. So I think this particular webinar is very important that we can give the academic people feedback.
And something I've also noticed, sorry to cut you short, something I also noticed, everybody's learning on the job. Nobody really prepared for a day as this. This is Akelachi speaking.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, not everybody really prepared for a day as this, especially schools in Nigeria. So they're also learning on the job. So feedback is really vital for them to work their process. So you give them feedback and then they create new actions to help everybody, because I believe that they really do want to help the kids. It's just a situation at hand. So feedback is really, really important for the schools as well, just like what you're saying. So I'm just encouraging Christy, yes, to give feedback to her school.
Yeah, indeed. Because you're paying your children's school fees and you want them to get you want them to get exactly what they are being paid for. Parents are paying school fees and they get exactly what they are paying their money for. So if a child needs to do practical, of course, at the end of the day, they will still write their SSC or their GC and they will need to do these practicals. So on the practical days, it's not something that you have to do on video. They want to be called practical. It's not called online. So they have to get them all of these things to do their home house practical work, but if you live where you can still buy these things and then they can do practical on themselves. So these are, like Kalachi rightly said, these are feedbacks we have to take to the education sector. Thank God she's also in the educational sector.
Okay, like if I would say, for instance, maybe the school can just put up the models, the steps the child can take, then the child can get those things. If it's something the child will need to go and buy, then why they put the step for the child to now use the step to do the practical at home, for instance? I don't know.
Because you have paid for those facilities and those equipment already incorporated in this child's school. I think the school should be able to get those things for the child and that be conscious why they use the chemistry and the rest. But then these are things that the school can say, okay, use them for 1 week and return them back. You sign for it and you get them back to the school again. So those are things that if we're looking at the African.
Well, I thought that would be easy over there.
This
here in Nigeria,
platform, with the host, Early Flight Academy founder and CEO. This particular platform is actually for the African space. We also have to look at those in the communities, the inner cities, those in the communities that don't have internet, because they're also missing out. Children are the future, So when you look at those that have access to these things, but you have to look about those in the community that these things have not gotten to. How do we get it to them? How do we get them feel home? Like a lot of children during the last 1 year that we had a lockdown, we're all sitting at home. I mean, some of them got into different kinds of things. But if they're engaged, you have laptop, like I mentioned to you here, they made laptop available and tablets for parents that were not able to buy. it comes to you. So these are things that we can write to the Ministry of Education or ministers. It's not such a rocket science.
All right, thank you.
We are having.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I see you're so passionate about this subject, and we can go on and on. But we'd like
indeed, but we cannot. We have limited time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Keep it in under 1 hour. Thank you so much to all our participants for participating in today's episode. I see you, Amaka, Ekaba, Bereni, Cheme, Christy, Emeka, Falashade, Ruhoma, Mma. Thank you guys so much. This session has been recorded, and we will send the recorded version. It will be hosted on YouTube, and we'll send the link to you as well, so you can share with other people. Please share. Tell parents, tell caregivers, tell teachers what's happening on this space. We're discussing about things that would help us raise Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs, leaders, change makers, innovators, all things that concern raising the perfect, not perfect, but raising people who move Africa and the world forward. And we have also written a book. Early Flight Academy has written a book titled Free Tools for Learning at Home. So if you'd like to have that book, you can just send a message after tonight's session, and that book will be sent to you. It's an ebook, so yeah, you don't need to bother about shipping. So we'll send the ebook to you so it can get you started on tools for learning at home and remote learning. Thank you guys once again. I really appreciate you coming on this call. And until the next episode, which is in 2 Thursdays time, it's twice a month, every two Thursdays. So thank you so much, and good night. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Roma.
Thank you, Abigail.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Steffi.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Like she said, we'll keep it up.